It's Friday, November 10th, 2023, and this is the Washington Times front page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin has said he will not seek re-election next year. In a video statement, Ramsey Touchberry reports Manchin said he would travel the country in search of creating a movement to mobilize the middle, though he did not directly address the prospect of mounting a third-party presidential run. Manchin won the seat vacated by the 2020 death of Senator Robert C. Byrd, a Democratic icon in the Mountain State. His decision is a major blow to Democrats' hopes of maintaining their one-seat majority in the Senate. The U.S. and Iran edged closer to a full-blown military confrontation after a series of clashes between American troops and Iranian proxy forces. Ben Wolfgang reports American F-15 fighter jets struck weapons depots in Syria that the Pentagon said were used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard and affiliated groups. These groups are thought to be responsible for dozens of recent attacks on U.S. troops stationed in Iraq and neighboring Syria. Meanwhile, Iran-backed Houthi rebels shot down a U.S. drone Wednesday off the coast of Yemen. A top Hamas leader boasted this week that a state of perpetual war with Israel and chaos across the region are the militant group's overriding aims. He suggested that the rapidly rising tensions represent the exact outcome Hamas was hoping to achieve. House Republicans have issued subpoenas and interview requests in the impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Susan Ferricchio reports art gallery owner Georges Berger and Los Angeles real estate investor Elizabeth Naftali were among 4 people subpoenaed by House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. The panel also requested interviews with 4 other people, including AmeriCorps Holdings trustee Carol Fox, about the president's alleged loans to his brother, James. A new Vatican policy statement says transsexual individuals can receive baptism in the Catholic Church if there are no situations in which there is a risk of generating public scandal. Religion reporter Mark Kellner reports the letter does not address other sacraments, such as communion, confirmation, and last rites. In addition, it defines the term transsexual as someone who has undergone hormonal treatment and sex reassignment surgery, but does not refer to transgender people or those who identify with a gender different from the one at their birth. A panel of Protestant and Anglican theologians say Christian churches must acknowledge their historic role in systemic racism to unite Americans on racial issues. Sean Salai reports the theologians presented their arguments at a National Press Club panel in Washington this week. They argued that many Christians fail to recognize social injustice against minorities because they only assume individual and malicious actions count as racism. When pressed for examples of structural racism in the history of U.S. churches, the panelists mentioned segregated worship services and theological justifications for slavery. And finally, Stephen Dinan looks at how some investors evade paying taxes on their investment portfolios and other returns. Schemes include like-kind exchanges in real estate to build wealth without paying taxes on the increasing value, exchange-traded funds to defer capital gains, and pumping money into private placement life insurance or health savings accounts. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.